So wanted to start here. This is a panel focused on the enterprise landscape. Enterprise buyers, I think, can look a lot different. There's a lot of different types of buyers when you think about businesses, governments. So maybe we can just level set with each of you talking about the main types of buyers that you're usually trying to sell into for your company solutions currently, and maybe the important considerations they have when they think about whose solutions they're going to use. So maybe we'll start with Jeff.
Thanks. I'm looking at the clock here. There's so much to go through. I'm going to keep my answer super short.
Okay.
So Coursera, we sell to businesses, we sell to governments, and we sell to campuses. There is a wide range of variation in their understanding of technology and the need for skilling and what they need from skilling solutions.
Awesome. Bijal, Shah. I'm at Guild. We also sell to generally large enterprises with L&D teams as well as P&Ls inside their organization that are looking to transform their workforce.
Yeah, Greg Brown. At Udemy, we've got about 16,000 customers around the world. About 60% of our revenue is outside North America, so we're very globally distributed in terms of our revenue base. We sell to customers from the SMB all the way up to the largest multinational enterprises that we have the ability to serve. And the buyer complexion, I think we'll probably get to that. As Jeff mentioned, it ranges dramatically, based on the vertical, and we're very broad in the verticals we serve and the problems we help organizations solve. So there's a lot of diversity there, and I'm sure we'll probably get a little bit more into detail around the complexion of those buyers.
Absolutely. Sean Burke with Ascend Learning. We have a large academic footprint. More than 60% of the U.S. nursing schools we're pleased to serve. And then also with a large healthcare focus, all sorts of healthcare providers, from health systems to retail health to pharmacies, et cetera.
Got it. Maybe we'll start here focusing on business buyers. As we think about those purchasers, how much more of a focus is there now on trying to build skill sets internally, maybe versus being able to go out and hire the talent that they need? Has that changed at all as you look back over the last 5 to 10 years? And if so, why? I don't know if Greg, do you want to start?
Yeah, I'm happy to start. In fact, I've got a relevant example. I was just this morning, prior to this event, was in a call with one of our large multinational banking customers. They've got about over 300,000 employees and about 80,000 tech employees. And the chief learning officer was on the call, as well as the head of their tech academy, and they were talking specifically about this issue or opportunity for them, and that because of the pace of change and how fast skills are evolving, that they no longer have the opportunity that we used to 5 and 10 years ago to take the time to hire in the talent that maybe had Kotlin skills if they're transitioning from Java or what have you, that it's no longer feasible for them not to have the ability to develop those skills internally, that they have to have the capability to transition their talent through these rapid changes in technology and evolve in that fashion. And that is really why they developed their tech academy and why they have a very disciplined approach. They talked about the fact that their CEO's dashboard, and this is a CEO that talks a lot publicly about skills, that this is a metric that he personally is attentive to and measures and is holding them responsible for in terms of their ability to increase the percentage of roles in the organization and that are filled from internal constituents. And they want to see that continue to climb through their investments in a variety of different programs. Ours is just one. So yeah, and this is an example that we're starting to see over and over and over again in terms of the commitment to skills development for the reasons I mentioned.
Yeah. Bijal?
Yeah, I was just going to say, 5 or 6 years ago, there still was a lot of conversation around attracting and retaining talent. And from my perspective, that conversation has very much shifted to the conversation around how do you build pathways internally for employees, what do those pathways look like, and how do you align them to the business strategy of the company and where the company needs to go, and most importantly, how do you fill those most critical roles that are required for the future of that company versus where the company is now. And I would say there's been a pretty 180-degree shift in terms of what folks are looking for and where they want to be spending time and where they want to be investing their dollars.
Yeah, buckle up. I mean, it's interesting. I was also I'm not joking, and this is not like one-upsmanship. I was talking to one of our clients, 200,000 global employees, the CLO this morning. So I hope you weren't on the call with me. But here's the thing, and this is a leading firm like GPT came out in November of 2022. It has taken about a year for people to figure out like what's going on. A few people are starting to see where this is heading, but vast majority of people are not. Here's the way that I sometimes characterize it based on what I'm hearing. Be interested to hear your all thoughts too. Kind of phase one is conversation. Everybody's talking about ChatGPT. And there's people at the conference who are like, I'm sick of this stuff. Well, sorry, because this is phase one. Phase two is experimentation. People kicking the tires, running some prototypes. A lot of companies are not finding a good connection on product market fit and real value. And they're kind of like, oh, I'm not really sure if this is working. It's phase three, separation. Some of the firms are getting it. They're figuring this out. They're figuring out how to train their people. They're creating things that are really valuable. And then there's going to be this recognition that suddenly, even though some people were kicking the tires for a long time, some firms are now just running away with major advantages, delivering a lot more value and seeing a lot more productivity increase. I think phase number 4, so going from recruiting to internal training, is that the leaders are doing that. They're training people internally. But as soon as people realize that they're really falling behind, boards of directors and CEOs are going to say, what's going on? Why are we not moving faster? And you're going to see delegation. So not only will you not be hiring from the outside as much, you'll still be doing that. If a company does not train their people fast enough, they will outsource the training to another firm that will. And then the final stage, I think, is going to be capitulation. Capitulation. A company that fails to train their internal functions on delivering value and productivity, those functions will be outsourced to global consulting firms who have the global talent pool, who know how to train people, recruit people, and evolve with the technology to keep up. And so I think there's going to be a rate of agility that if you can't manage it internally, it'll get sort of outsourced to others.
As you think about the purchasers internally then, in those stages that you just discussed, does that mean that there's going to be a broadening of the types of purchasers? So thinking about L&D teams have made a lot of the learning decisions historically. Maybe the sales team starts to make a decision, we need to train our people. Like, does it broaden the purchasers within an organization?
I think the L&D people are centralizing now, because with language translation, one central function can now serve a global population of multi-language speakers. Also, because of generative AI, they do not need to be domain experts. A function can come to them, say, I need a course on this that teaches this. They can supply some of the content from a subject matter expert, and using generative AI, the L&D team can now create custom courses without being domain experts. I think it's going to really change and centralize the nature of L&D.
I'll just comment, I agree with that. I think what we are seeing, though, is decisions by committee from the standpoint that the CTOs and heads of products and heads of sales and the various functions still have a very active and loud voice in terms of the decisions they're going to make, whether it be a platform like one of ours or ILT or what have you, strategically how they're going to skill and develop their talent. But generative AI, there's no question, is an accelerant to everything we're talking about, right? I mean, in every conversation I'm having with customers, and I spend a lot of time with the Fortune 500 customers we have, we'll talk about skills development and everything that I've alluded to in that last example, and then invariably it comes specifically back to generative AI, right? And the intense interest they have to understand, most organizations, they want to understand, am I ahead or behind the curve? What are the most progressive companies doing, and why, and how? And they're trying to make a determination based off the level of sophistication they have evolved to, how they are going to potentially accelerate and make investments appropriately. So, as Jeff mentioned, buckle up. Right? I mean, it really is. It's an exciting time. We're going to transform the way organizations develop their talent over the next few years in ways that we have not seen before as a result of the capability we now have. All of us, in terms of being able to leverage generative AI into the products and services we're delivering and enabling our customers to transform how they operate. So, I mean, it could not be a more exciting time for all of us to be in this category and space.
We're getting a little bit of a different question. It's not so much how do I use AI inside of my workforce, it's how is AI going to disrupt the tasks that my workers do, and how can you help me figure out what they should be doing next if they're not spending time on that specific task that took up 60% of their job. And so much of our time now is spent with those institutions who are thinking about, okay, great, if there's 100% of someone's job and 60% is going to get augmented or automated through AI, what should they be now doing with the 60% of their time that has been freed up or will be available, and how do we skill them to take on the next set of tasks or activities that are required to do their job even better. And so I would say we're spending a ton of our time focusing on specific roles and areas where we can help organizations understand how do you tackle this with 1, 2, 3, 4 roles. Once you figure out how to do that within specific roles, how do you then take that more broadly across your organization? Because trying to do something with everyone all at one time also, just given how quickly things are advancing, is actually quite complicated. And so you need to build the rhythm and the muscle to drive that change management and transformation inside your organization. And so it actually is a pretty different conversation around, I know it's going to get disrupted. Can you please tell me how? And then can you help me figure out how to skill those people in a way that will make their job relevant and them relevant for the job that will be there in the future?
It's pretty clear across these issues, or just simply the scarcity of workers, particularly in healthcare, that this talent topic is a C-suite one. Right, so I think the healthcare has seen the labor costs be the fastest growing line item. It's really impacting their profitability. So their ability to cross-train, upskill, teach new skills clearly is more important than ever.
Yeah, I don't know if you guys saw, but, and I know she's here today, Lo from Walmart. She's now Walmart's first chief talent officer. And I think it's an incredible move by an organization to realize talent is not only about who you bring in, it's about how you develop the people internally and that full cycle. So excited to see what they do with that.
Got it. Wanted to maybe ask a couple questions about skills mapping. Because I feel like there's going to be a big, trying to figure out what you need, trying to get employees that are on these internal skill paths to get from point A to point B. There's a lot of vendors in the corporate learning ecosystem when you think about the LMS, when you think about the LXP, content, et cetera. So who do you think is best positioned to kind of productize and support the skills mapping piece?
OpenAI.
+1, and I don't think the game is going to be about skills. I think it's going to move to tasks. The whole reason why we went down a skills ontology and a skills path is because we couldn't figure out a way for technology to help support us in understanding the tasks that humans do. We now have figured out, actually through LLMs, that you don't need to go through and tag every single thing someone is doing and categorize them into skills. You actually can just look at the line item, writing emails. That's a task someone does. Great, will that be automated? How do we make them better at it? Oh, are they gonna become editors-in-chiefs of the emails that they're writing versus writing the emails from scratch? And so I do think we're about to see an entire paradigm shift on how people think about understanding the work that their workers need to do today and the work that their workers need to do tomorrow.
There's so many clients, and Greg would be interested to get your thoughts on this too, where different vendors come in with different skills taxonomies. And they label things differently. And before generative AI, that was really confusing. Like, how do you say that this skill is like this skill and this skill is related to this skill? I said OpenAI because literally, if you put in just a few taxonomies and say crosswalk, like map this to this and this to this and this, it's pretty freaking straightforward. I now have Google Pro 1.5. I could have a 1 million token window, 700,000 words in my context prompt. I could load in everybody's skills taxonomy in the market and just say crosswalk all these things. Map everything to everything, and it pretty much will just take care of it. The whole idea that there's got to be special software and special algorithms and databases, I don't think so.
Yeah, so I'm biased on this one. There's no question in that I agree with the OpenAI component. We're leveraging our partnership with OpenAI to develop our skills mapping capability that we publicly announced we're going to bring to market in the back half of this year. And it's effectively doing exactly what Jeff just mentioned, but we're going to have it on platform and make it really easy for organizations to take what has spent, they've spent hundreds of hours manually attempting to do and not being able to keep it updated because it's all been manual, and automating that entire process exactly as Jeff just alluded to, enabling that to happen on our platform, and then for us to be able to integrate into the flow of work and whatever technology organizations are using to deliver learning and also delve insights from learning as well. So we've got an in the flow of work strategy, but we want to have that capability available on our platform to make it really easy for our customers to just access and go map those skills.
Are you willing to say what model you're using underneath?
I'm going to keep that under the vest right now, but we'll surely talk more openly about it as we get to the point of GA.
I just add, I think to answer your question, who's going to be best positioned, I think it's going to be a solution provider that brings it together and links it to the client's outcomes. I think when we look at healthcare, domain knowledge is critically important. So I think really understanding the clinicians already hate their electronic medical record, right? How many tools, more tools are you going to give them in their workflow? So someone who's able to understand their day-to-day work and then bring in the technology, I think they'll be best positioned.
Got it. Maybe shifting to soft skills development, because I think that's probably going to be, in my view, a more important area going forward, not less important. Curious how you guys think about the importance of that in the ecosystem, how are your customers thinking about it? There's going to be so much change from a technological perspective. There's going to be a lot of change management that needs to be covered. How do you guys think about it? Maybe we'll start with Bijal.
Yeah, I think we just launched, so we focus with companies who have a large frontline employer population, and so we just launched a durable skills content and package that allows us to help individuals actually get the durable skills, the ones, your soft skills you're talking about, that persist over time. Though I did read Ethan Mollick, who's here, I know, his book just came out last week on co-intelligence, and in that book he was talking about how things like GPT are really good at creativity, and one of the durable skills we talk about is creativity. And so I'm curious to see how durable skills and the ones that are actually durable evolve when you think about the future of work, because I associate things like creativity with something that only human intelligence can do. But the point in his book is around the fact that, yes, humans are really good at being creative, but an idea generator like GPT can help you accelerate your creativity and the idea generation even faster than two humans in a room being like, how would you go about doing X? It can spit out an insane number of ideas relatively quickly to help you riff on those ideas. And so I'm curious how the concept of durable skills will evolve as we think about augmenting people's work, augmenting how they work, et cetera. Yeah.
I just spent last week with 800 nurse educators. I can tell you social skills of students is top of the list, right? They know, and the clinical data is there, that if someone can listen, empathize, and explain to a patient, that clinical outcomes get better. People are very concerned in the healthcare workforce what's happening with soft skills. So we're very focused there on kind of products that can both assess and kind of train that's there. I think we're also thinking of other ways that the social skills become important. April is Autism Awareness Month, for example. Our EMS business, we're helping them train how do you interact with patients with autism. Right, so I think linking the social skills to clinical outcomes is incredibly important and really going to drive patient care.
I totally agree with this, and to your point, which I think is an excellent one, many soft skills that people think are uniquely human aren't. They're not. The LMs are going to be better than humans at. You're right, you riff with it, but the capacity to generate new ideas faster than humans can is definitely there. When I think about this, I think, okay, what's going to be most important from a company's perspective? Business agility. Can I basically deliver value to customers faster than my competitors into a big market with good economics and a sustainable advantage? What's that going to require? Organizational agility. Can people change? Can people in the organization change fast enough? To me, a lot of what this is about is learning agility among the employees and change ability. Can I learn the new things I need to learn, and can I change the way I do things, the way I reinvent my role? This is going to require a massive amount, not just of learning, but actually trust and human connection. I think training managers to become personally connected to their people so that they trust folks and are willing to make the change is going to be a really important part of soft skills, is leadership, management, and the ability to help people change and cope with uncertainty.
Couldn't agree more. You know, adaptability, which is, you know, Jeff, what you're talking about is what we're hearing more and more from our customers, and we're seeing that manifest in a variety of different ways. ServiceNow, many of you probably know, is a large, superscaler. And we recently did a partnership with ServiceNow. They've got 16 career journeys that they wanted to be able to make available to their customers with their technical content, but they knew that to enable the entire employee to grow and develop and be adaptable and being able to have the agility necessary, they had to have a component of soft skills and power skills in there. So they came to us and we packaged up a array of 75 soft skills and power skills in combination with their technical skills, because it's just for their customers, that they're now selling into their customer base for this exact reason. Because the level of agility necessary for organizations to continue to thrive in the environment we're operating in now, where the pace of change is faster than ever before and it's not slowing down, requires the human to be, agile in ways that, it's just very different than it was maybe even 5-10 years ago. And the adaptability, just look, most of us are operating in a hybrid world now, where we have our employees at home 2 or 3 days a week, some even more. All right, so the agility that managers need to have to be able to adapt to that environment and thrive in leading teams, we had to adapt to overnight, and it didn't happen overnight. Right, that's what our customers are telling us is we're still not good at it. We need to develop that type of capability, and that's just one of many examples around the agility necessary. So I think soft skills and power skills are more important now than maybe ever before.
Maybe shifting to the budgetary environment, it seems like there's been a lot of pressure on learning and development budgets in particular, as I think back over the last couple of years. What changes have you seen there? Has that alleviated at all? And maybe I'll steer this. Maybe I'll start with Sean. I don't know if you wanted to start, and then maybe I'll pass to.
I think there's a large graveyard of companies that underestimated the length of the purchasing cycle in healthcare.
Yep.
However, that said, I think we always find that if you can link to their outcomes, whether that be clinical, economic, or operational, and really have evidence behind it, things will move quickly.
Yeah, I would agree. I think there's always been a focus on outcomes, and so I think where you're seeing budgets shrink, it's where the employer doesn't see the outcomes they were expecting or needing, rather than the notion that they're just shrinking their budgets. I think as soon as you can prove the ROI of what you're doing and how the investment you're making in skilling, reskilling, education, et cetera, is going to further propel opportunity and outcomes for the organization, to the point Sean made, I think they're willing to spend whatever it takes to help make that happen. But I think that when they don't see those, that's when they start to ask questions around what is this budget getting utilized for, and is it the appropriate use of dollars?
I think we also saw a sequence of events with COVID when everything shut down, schools and businesses shut down. But the checkbooks were open, the government money was flowing, and a lot of money went into educating people. As COVID then subsided and people went back to work, budgets, and then the macroeconomic environment got a lot worse, L&D budgets shrunk. We're starting to see these things starting to come back in the face of generative AI. First for the builders, like we need builders of AI, that's great, but there aren't that many builders compared to the number of users. My expectation is the budgets are now opening because people are trying to train the builders. If you try to buy the builders, they're like $1 million each. Out in San Francisco, so the top AI people are getting paid over $1 million to build these models. So people are saying, I can't recruit the builders, I got to train the builders. But they're going to soon realize that their whole P&L is a lot bigger than just the builders. And they're going to have to say, well, how am I going to train all my users to do these tasks differently? And how do I train them to do the new things that are more valuable? So the next big wave, I think, is going to be moving budgets from training your builders to training your users.
That's good insight. Maybe you wanted to shift to Sean, just in thinking about the healthcare opportunity, because clearly, I think everyone probably knows we need way more nurses, way more physicians, way more healthcare professionals out there to handle what's going to be a significantly growing demand. What do you see as the biggest bottlenecks? How do you think about ASU's position to help maybe alleviate some of those?
Yeah, I think one big awareness of the health professions, right? I think everyone knows a nurse or a doctor, but the wide range of allied health professions. So I think building awareness of these and creating alternative paths in is a big topic. What we are hearing from our customers and seeing in our data, we own one of the entrance exams for nursing school, academic readiness is a big problem, right? So we have surveyed students that applied to nursing school, got in, but then didn't attend, and a lot of it was just their own confidence, right? Could they withstand the rigors of that? So we've offered some solutions there. The schools also tell us the number one disruptor to their programs is academic readiness of the students coming into these professions. We've joined a coalition we've helped create. We're a co-founder, a healthcare workforce coalition. Really, how do we boost the pipeline of people coming in? How do we work on the retention of people in those careers? And then there's also international healthcare recruitment. So anyone involved in this space wants to learn more about that coalition, but we're trying to really get out there and drive some advocacy around it.
And I guess the rest of you, I know, Guild, you've done some on the healthcare side, Guild, you've done some on the healthcare side, Coursera, you've had some Coursera. How do you guys think about, is that going to be a big area of focus for your organizations going forward?
I was just again, just as this is the way things are going, I was just in Guyana with the president of Guyana. We launched the Guyana Coursera National Training Platform. In the audience were 900 nurses, all dressed in their whites, and the president is explaining how this program to train every nurse in Guyana, and now they're doing an assistant nursing program to do the prep to make sure there's a bigger career path there. Well, as the Minister of Health is talking, he whispers to me, he said, Jeff, I want this Guyana program to be available to everybody in the Caribbean, because you can do almost all of it remotely other than the clinical rotations. So this is going to be happening at national scales and regional scales, because we need a lot more nurses and doctors, in a lot of regions of the world.
Yeah, we took a turn into healthcare. I was telling Sean about 3 years ago, not knowing exactly how we could be helpful or supportive. And given the model that we have and the work that we do, actually, it's been wildly successful for us to move into the healthcare space. When we think about Guild's mission, it's unlocking opportunity for America's workforce, and jobs in allied health and healthcare can provide family-sustaining wages. And so from a mission alignment perspective and a need in this country, 100% aligned. And we've been wildly surprised by the innovativeness of healthcare institutions and providers in terms of trying to figure out how do we fix this crisis in this country. And so it has been a big opportunity for us, and we're grateful to be along for the ride.
That's great.
I don't have anything material to add in terms of the examples and what have you, other than to say healthcare is one of our top 5 verticals for good reason, because of the acute need that has been described, and we couldn't be more excited about the thirst for innovation and the desire to understand how they can, through tools like our platforms and capabilities and what have you, begin to think differently about addressing this really, what is, as Jeff just alluded to, a global problem that is not getting better.
Maybe on the risk side with AI, I think there's been, do you think there's a risk with generative AI that companies can try to develop more of their own learning pathways themselves, especially if it becomes cheaper to create the content? So kind of the insourcing versus outsourcing debate, how do you think about those fears? I'll start with Jeff. I don't know.
Yeah, good luck. Things are moving really fast, and it's easy to be overwhelmed by how many things are coming from so many different directions. In the last 12 months, we have made such huge innovations in language translation, personal tutoring with coach, course building, academic integrity, assessment validation, skills mapping. The question is going to be, and we're not even training any models. We made a decision, at least for the first probably year or two, we're just going to deliver value to customers. We're not going to try to build our own LLMs. We're not even fine-tuning LLMs right now. We're just delivering as much value as fast as we can, and we can barely even keep up with hundreds and hundreds of engineers. So I think that sort of harnessing this power in a logical set of systems in a coherent way and maintaining quality and managing risk is going to put a huge premium, I think, on actually scale players. I kind of see the opposite, which is that people are going to really turn to folks who can make the investment to pull all this power together in responsible, coherent ways.
We're seeing exactly the same thing from the largest multinational corporations and partners in the world. AWS is one of our partners. We've talked publicly about the relationship we have there, and they surely have the resources, in terms of dollars, if they felt like they wanted to pivot in this direction. But for all the reasons Jeff mentioned, the pace of change, the complexity, the rapid level of innovation that's happening across so many different disciplines, it's just not viable. It's not viable for them to even entertain it, and we don't see that happening at all. It really is not a concern I have.
Maybe on the competitive environment, it's a large end market, a lot of different buyers. Do you think there's room for multiple scale players? Would you expect some consolidation over time? How do you think about the landscape? I don't know who wants.
It's a massive. Look at the numbers. Can be as big as $300 billion in terms of the overall category, and it's a massive, massive market. It's early days in some of the secular tailwinds right now that we're seeing from the transition from offline to online platforms to upskill and reskill. You've got this transition from a focus on, intense focus on degrees and, an experience to skills development. Degrees are not going away. It's not an and, right? But that overall transition in terms of everything we're talking about that organizations oriented around skills is early days. Generative AI. talked a little bit about the fact that in the C-suite, now more than ever, all of us not only understand intellectually, but are putting into practice what we know is necessary, which is our number one asset in every company is our people. And 10 years ago, 15 years ago, I've been in HR tech for a while. It was a little bit of lip service back in the day, right? You'd hear it, but you didn't necessarily see the dollars and the investments going toward their people in the way that we're seeing today. The intensity. CEOs now having on their dashboards, tracking, metrics very specifically associated with their ability to develop skills to achieve organizational outcomes. This is all fairly new, right? So with these tailwinds right now, it's a massive opportunity. There's more than enough for all of us and beyond us in this category for years to come, in my opinion.
I do think we're going to see leapfrogging. GPT and LLMs and AI are now moving into what is considered general purpose technology. GPT, not the same GPT as ChatGPT, but GPT. And as we look at what that means, if you think about the internet and its ubiquity now, it took 30 years to drive the adoption of that. When we think about GPT, general purpose technology, when we're thinking about ChatGPT, I think 100 million users in less than 18 months got access to and began using GPT. That is wild from a technological adoption perspective. And so I do think we're going to see leapfrogging, which is the way things are happening today are not the way they will happen go forward. And whether it's us on the stage or people out here in the room or people at this conference or in other parts of the world, I think you'll see not consolidation, but I think you'll see strategic realignment happening because people will be looking for ways to either keep up with the leapfrogging that's happening, or they will need to adapt their businesses in a way that fits the future of where we're headed.
I suspect there's going to be a lot of M&A. A lot of small companies here are building really cool features and are with pretty talented people. They won't have the distribution, they won't have the platform, they won't have all the context, but they would make a great, acquisition.
I'd just add, if you think of healthcare professions, typically they're trained with those that are like them, right? And then they get out to the floor and they have to interact to care for the patient. And we know team-based care is better. So I think ways that we can think through how do we drive interprofessional education, create career paths from allied health to nursing. I think there's, from a customer value standpoint, I think there's some real value in bringing these professions together.
Got it. We've got 2 minutes left. We'll do this quickly, just quick hitter. Biggest strategic initiative at your company as you think about the next 2 years? I don't know. Hopefully that gives you enough. 30 seconds each. I don't know if that gives you enough.
Generative AI.
We'll go down. Yep.
Plus one, I guess to get more specific, as I said earlier, spending a lot of time helping workforces understand how their roles are going to evolve inside their organization and how they might think about reskilling and upskilling to support those specific roles.
Generative AI.
AI and kind of career paths, career ladders across different healthcare professions.
That was quick. I didn't think I was going to get another one in.
There's so many people here saying, I'm so sick of this. I'm so sick of hearing about generative AI. You're going to be hearing a lot about it for probably the next 5 or 10 years. I mean, it's real. It's really real, and that's why we're doing it. We've seen so much impact and success, and we're just, every time we see another result, we're like, okay, double down on that, and double down again, and double down again.
Yeah, I mean, I'll just briefly add that, we've got 3 capabilities we're announcing, that we've already announced that we're delivering in the back half of the year, and we're in alpha right now with a bunch of our customers. And the reason why we're so excited about it is because of the response we're already getting from our customers in terms of the transformational impact that these capabilities, skills mapping, AI assistant, for us, automated Q&A, it's going to transform the learning experience for their employees. And that's why the excitement is as high as it is, both for us as leaders and in our organizations, because our customers are that excited about it and the impact it's going to have. So, I couldn't be more excited about what's going to happen. I said this earlier, across the category and how we're all going to be able to truly transform the learning experience and make the ability to develop skills something that is available in ways that it has not historically been and more efficient and effective than surely it's ever been.
I think the one thing that won't change is the need for humans to want to learn. That doesn't go away regardless of the technology we're talking about, and there is still work we have to do to help drive the motivation for individuals to want to learn and to bring them along in this journey, and I think that's going to be the hardest part of what we're trying to do.
And that's why many companies will fall into the final stage of capitulation. Their people will not learn, and they're going to have to find somebody else who can do that job well.
Well, I think we'll end it there. Thank you. Thank you.
Wah, wah.
It's got a little dark, but thank you guys so much for spending. Thank you, Sean. Thank you, Greg. Thank you, Bijal. Thank you, Jeff.
Thank
And thank you, everyone.